It's Hey Coach with Tim Simpson, Rashard Collins, and Jamal Mondane. Three coaches and friends talk about sports, life, and everything in between.
Everybody, you already know what time it is. It is time for the Hey Coach podcast with Coach Tim Simpson, Jamal Mondane. We're missing Rashard Collins right now, but we're looking to hopefully get him back in here before too long. But we have a surprise for y'all that might be popping up later in the show. We are rejoined by the one and only Anthony Simpson, a.k.a. Tony Starks, a.k.a. Iron Man, the producer of the show. He's back, and he's in action. But right now, I am joined by... Yeah, Iron Man returns, baby. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's not the end game. Hey, Iron Man's back, okay? He ain't going nowhere. But I am here joined right now with Jamal Mondane. Jamal, how we doing, baby?
Doing great. I had a great weekend. Just ready to talk some footballs. Week one of the NFL season. So I'm just ready to go, man. Doing great.
Hey, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about that 1/3 Hey Coach?
So 1/3 Head Coach. All right. As you can see, obviously the Hey Coach podcast, the Mighty Hey Coach. There are three hosts on the show: Tim Simpson, Rashard Collins, myself. I am 1/3 of that. So if you're looking for 1/3 Hey Coach, that's the Instagram handle for the Hey Coach podcast, 1/3 Hey Coach. You can see every week there's going to be clips of topics we talk about on the show from past episodes, from current episodes, reminding you what time the show comes on, just different topics. There'll be sports topics, kind of poll questions, a way to interact with our fans and people that watch the show. The handle is 1/3 Hey Coach. Check that out on Instagram, along with the rest of our Hey Coach podcast handles from other social media sites.
That's good. That's good. And later in the show, we'll throw up all of our social media avenues that you can follow us on later on in the show. But hey, we got to get this show started, man. We had some stuff just going on. We had a bombshell dropped on us not too long ago. Jay, help me wrap my mind around this Nebraska issue that's going on with Scott Frost.
Nebraska football
sacked after 3 games into the season. I mean, the face says it all. Like he I don't know what I'm doing here, bud. I mean, the face says it all. Yep, it was a good run, boys. I'll see you on the flip side. You know, I mean, Jay, can you help us make a little sense out of this? What's going on here?
Yeah, it was crazy. Is Rashard was talking about this last week because he kind of a Nebraska fan from back in the day, and he talked about Scott Frost coming back home, being a new coach of Nebraska, and we talked about, hey, he got to hurry up and figure something out before they cut him loose. I didn't think they was gonna let him go this soon. We kind of joked about it, like maybe he'll make it to Halloween or something like that. But man, this dude didn't even make it to the end of September. So. He was the head coach of Nebraska. He was there last year as well, I believe. The reason they fired him, they played Georgia Southern. They were double-digit, 2-touchdown favorites at home, put up 42 points, and still lost the game at home. So, Nebraska football is a staple in college football. They consider themselves a blue blood football. So, a lot of tradition there. I'm sure it was a lot of boosters giving phone calls, a lot of alumni was like, hey, we can't have this. We got to get this guy out of here. We paid Georgia Southern to come here and play them. They ended up beating us. We can't have that. So had to let him go. On the bright side, don't feel too bad for him. He got a $15 million buyout. So, it stung a little to not coach. But he got $15 million to fall back on. I think he'll be okay for a little bit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that people, they make what they want about it. But like you said, I mean, man, 15 minutes, you know what I'm saying? He all right. He good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, you don't want to ever get fired from the job. It's like, I mean, it's not like you're working at McDonald's or something and, they say, hey, you know, messed up the fries 2 weeks in a row. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have to ask you to leave. You know, you don't get no buyout from there. You know, so it's not McDonald's.
He had a different level for unemployment. So he all right.
Yeah,
His unemployment
yeah, it's completely different. So I mean, yeah, I get it, but I mean, my question to you is this: is it that big of a surprise that he got let go? I mean, I know he was he was a former player of Nebraska, come back to coaching at his alma mater, and I tell you, that's tough. For a lot of people to try to come back and do that, it's tough. Like me, I would tell most people, unless you're going into a great situation, I would advise against it. Just because there's so much pressure on you. There's very few that really do it, have done it, very well. I would say like Juwan Howard, who had, relatively good success coaching at Michigan. Harbaugh, who also Michigan football. He's had some, pretty good success with it. Outside of that, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, especially when we're talking college, coming back and coaching at their alma mater. It's just so much pressure, so I'm like to me, I would like, hey, you might want to, pump the brakes a little bit. Make sure you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting the organization up for success. You're setting your players up for success. But it's tough. I mean, 3 games of the season though, bro. I mean, are you that surprised that this happened?
I'm surprised how quick it was. That's what I was saying. Like Nebraska being such a prestige program in football, in college football, historically, right? They haven't been great in recent years. Like since they joined the Big Ten, they have been god awful. I'm a Big Ten fan. I'm an Illinois football fan. Like Illinois ain't great, but I mean Nebraska used to be, the team. Go Big Red. Ever since they moved to the Big Ten, they got one of the worst records. I mean, I think their conference record is like they have one of the worst Big Ten records since they joined the conference. So it hasn't been a very successful move for them. They trying to make a big splash with a coach, bringing in a guy from the alma mater. Obviously, that'll get the fans excited because somebody they're familiar with, the alumni is familiar with. But I'm not surprised by the firing because of the performance. They haven't been good. I'm surprised at how soon. But I feel like they just decided to pull the plug. We've seen this before in history. So I feel like they just said, we pull the plug now and just move on, like save some face. Let's just get it done after 3 games, and then we'll move forward from here. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think anybody's really checking for Nebraska football unless you are a fan of Nebraska, being honest. So I'm sure Nebraska fans are happy today. Like, all right, we got them out of the way. Now let's go find somebody that can actually recruit and bring some guys in so we can start winning again. Yeah,
I mean, I agree. Like I said, I am surprised by how they pulled him so quick. I would think at least maybe give half a season, but at the same time, if they're seeing something that like look, 3 games of the season, we still might have a chance to salvage the rest of the season, make a bowl game. This is
that loss Saturday. That was embarrassing. It was just plain. That loss was embarrassing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where it is what it is. It happens. Especially if you decide to take that role as a coach. You just you got to do the best you can with what you got, and hopefully your players respond and they do what they got to do. So let's move on from that. Let's talk about some of the games that happened yesterday in the college football world. One game in particular I really want to talk about is the Alabama-Texas game. Now that was a pretty good game. I was quite pleasantly surprised at how tough Texas played, and what really got me was how tough Texas played through the injuries of their quarterbacks.
Yeah,
that's what really got me was because their starting quarterback gets knocked out. He's leading a drive. They're trying to get in the end zone. He gets slammed to the ground. in a personal foul, which of course against the Alabama squad. So talk to me a little bit about that game. What are some of your keys to that game? And I got one key that I'm gonna present. It's not one of my keys, but someone had reached out to me and they talked to me about this. So I kind of want to get your take on this. So go ahead, tell me about your keys from that.
So just on the surface, this is a big game. It's two big programs. I like what college football is doing with the schedule, putting two big programs up against each other early in the year. We saw that in week 1 with Georgia and Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame. So I like seeing these teams play early. They're not ducking everybody. Because back in the day when they had the BCS ranking, you basically play directional school the first 4 games, so your record looked nice. You know, you play West. So I'm glad that they're getting through that, and you actually see big name teams play against each other. So that's number 1. Number 2, not a moral victory guy, but I tell you what, Texas was a 19.5-point underdog in that game. So even Vegas didn't believe that they were going to play like they did. They were 19.5. So for them to show up and be pretty close to winning that game, I mean, they were a game-winning field goal away from they were winning that game. So they played good. I mean, I think that Sarkisian got something down there. I'm sure he's got their attention now. Like, look, we can play with the best teams in the country. So let's go ahead and kind of move forward with this. But on the flip side, Alabama had like 9 penalties in the first half also. Yeah. Like they played a sloppy game. Their defense held Texas to 19 points, but their offense was sloppy. Too many penalties on the line, and that's what kept Texas in the game. So they need to correct that, and obviously Nick Saban will correct that. So I think it was good for both teams. Again, I'm not a moral victory guy. Texas still lost the game, but you can use that. Like coaches will use that to, hey, we played a nationally televised game, the number 1 team in the country. Like they're the odds-on favorite to win a national championship, and we showed up. It's still early in the year, so we know we can get better. On the flip side, Alabama did win the game, and but they can learn from all the mistakes and penalties and then move forward. But it was a great game to watch. If you like early football games at noon, that was the perfect game to watch. Get a good game out of the way before you finish your Saturdays. So, cool.
Yeah, it most definitely was. It was definitely a good game. I enjoyed watching that game. Now we get to the point that somebody brought up to me, and I thought I've got to present this to Jay. I really wish your Rashard was on here right now because this is probably a good one for him as well. But the point was when they were watching the game, they noticed and I've heard this before. I'm not gonna sit there and say this, but I've heard this before. But a lot of people feel like Alabama gets away with a lot of stuff. There was several. Now I do remember this during that game. There was probably 3 or 4 passing interference or holding calls on the DBs that should have been called that just weren't called at all. I mean, they were just blatantly missed by the referees. Where the referee, the sideline judge, whoever's looking at them, and they can see the guy. They see the DB is pulling on the guy and pulling him out of position, and they're not making the call at all. And that was one thing that I'm not gonna throw his name out there, but that's one thing he said to me. It was like, he said, I don't have a problem with Alabama, but I do have a problem with the fact that, the kind of treatment they get, from especially referees, when it comes to some of the games. They just give them calls. They don't call them from a lot of stuff. And then they brought the point where they hurt the Texas quarterback. Like if they clean some of that stuff up to begin with, maybe something like that doesn't happen. So is that something you've noticed, or what is your after hearing that, what is your take on something like that?
My take on that is that's been happening since the beginning of the time with sports, right? The teams that are heavily favored, the teams that have the history are favored with officiating, right? It's unfortunate, but they when you have your teams that are heavily favored, they get favoritism. And it's not like favoritism like the refs want them to win. Like that's kind of a simple surface way of thinking about it. Like I don't think the refs went into the locker room and was like, all right, we need to do everything we can do so Alabama can win this game. Like, it doesn't work that way. What I mean by favoritism is history. Like, so they go by tendencies, the refs go by what teams have done in the past. Like, if they played clean football in the past, they have a good record of playing clean football. So,
right,
when one team maybe like throw a flag or you didn't see that, like the refs are thinking like, if I didn't catch it, it probably didn't happen. It's real time. It's bang bang plays. It's fast. They don't have the luxury of seeing it on TV 15 times like we do and seeing replays and slow. Yes. They got to make a call. They got to make a call, a split-second call in the game, and then it's on to the next play. The play clock's only 40 seconds, so they got to get people back up to the line, get plays called. So the game is moving so fast in real time. So you have to go off a reaction, what you see, and you got to go off of the history of even individual players. You see it in basketball all the time too. Like, for our older viewers, Rasheed Wallace. Like, you don't think the refs was in the locker room like, all right, we got Rasheed Wallace. Like, you got to temper. We got to make sure, like, don't let him go crazy. We might have to hit him with a tap, put him down early, so we can have control of the game or, control the tempo. So all that stuff is talked about with refs. Like, they study film just like the players and the coaches do. So that's my take from it. It's been happening forever.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. And that's the same thing I said to him. And I have an extreme close personal view when it comes to that, because as you know, I coach minor league basketball. You played for me, and I'm going to ask you. This is live, so everybody. I don't want to hear nobody saying something bad about me. How many times did you ever see me really go after refs?
Not a lot, really. You really go after refs at all.
And the reason why is because they're human. They're going to miss calls. My main message to my players were, understand that they're human. They're going to miss calls. The only thing you can do is control how you react to that. Do not let it get you out of the game. Don't let it cause you to make a stupid mistake or retaliate on somebody. You can only control the things you can control. Like I said, yes, like you said, as a fan, as somebody watching the game on television, we get to see, the replays 500,000 times.
Angles, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We see all that. But like you said, they've got like milliseconds to make that decision, make that call. You know what I'm saying? And they have to, they have to live with it. And I guarantee you, these guys and women go home, and even they might look at the highlights like, man, I missed that call. They beat themselves up. So it's not like you have to.
And they make the adjustment. They make the adjustment too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where, I get it, and yes, I understand it, but at the same time, as a coach, and as a former player, I realize they're not the ones that decide the game. The players are the ones, and I even really coaches can make adjustments, but still, at the end of the day, it's the players that win or lose the game. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you lose the game, it's one of those things where, if you're a true leader, like you played for me, we lost the game. I come in the locker room like, hey guys, look, I probably should have made some different adjustments, or I probably should have did this. I probably should have done it. The first thing I do is I blame myself. You know what I'm saying? I'll blame myself. I'll take the hit for that, for that loss. And if we win, what's the first thing I do? You guys did a great job. Way to execute. Way to play defense. Where I take myself out of the equation, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that went out there and won the game. Right. That's what it comes down to. So I had to get your take on that, because I knew you was gonna give me a good take on that one. Like I said, I would love to have Rashard on it, because I know Rashard, he probably came on with some, I don't know, off the wall type of stuff. I probably would have had to put the disclaimer on.
People blaming the refs left and right.
He's like, no, man, it was the ticket booth office problem. The person at the concession stand, they didn't put the right hot dogs in the right buns and all that.
That's why we love them, though. That's why we love them.
They didn't get the Heinz ketchup. They got the best choice ketchup. So I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, it is what it is. Hey, let's jump to another game I would like to talk about. Now, there's quite a few games I would like to talk about, but I'm trying to narrow it down as much as possible. But I want to get your take on the Tennessee-Pittsburgh game. Now, going into this game, Pittsburgh was actually ranked higher than Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh was ranked 17th and Tennessee was ranked 24th, right?
Yeah, it was something like that. 18, 22, something like that. But yeah.
Now, after that game, it flip-flopped. Tennessee it moved up to 15th. Pittsburgh dropped down to 24th.
Yeah.
I'm kind of giving away. If you haven't watched the game or seen the highlights, I kind of gave it away. Pittsburgh lost that game. But it was, for all intents and purposes, that was a really good game. Went to overtime. Tennessee ended up winning 34-27 in overtime. What are some of your thoughts on that game?
That was a great game. Like you said, I like the inter conference games. Like I said, big teams. Pittsburgh is projected to do well in the ACC. Like, it's Clemson's conference to lose, but Pittsburgh will challenge them. Like, Pittsburgh is a really good ACC football team. Miami will be back this year. Florida State won a big game in week 1, so Pitt is projected to be good, hence the ranking. Tennessee going to Pittsburgh was a big win. I can't remember the last time Tennessee football played in the East Coast, like a Northeast school in football. I couldn't tell you when. So even to see that on the schedule was interesting, and it made for a good game. So it shows you why the rankings were so close before the game and how that game turned out. Tennessee pulled it out, a big road win for them. That'll pay dividends for them later on in the season if Pittsburgh continues to still play good. Like, those types of wins help you when it comes down to the college football playoff rankings. So that's a big win for Tennessee down the line. It's like, all right, we went on the road, a ranked opponent, and beat them. So that's one of those wins they can take and run with for sure.
Now, what I was really impressed with, and it was funny because I was sitting there watching the game, and right before the announcer said what they said, I had said the same thing. And it was like, I was like, if this game goes to overtime, I'm giving the advantage to Tennessee because of the veteran quarterback. And he didn't disappoint. I thought he did a great job managing the game throughout the game and into overtime. Of course, there were some missteps. They left some points out there. They did some other things, but I thought he did a great job. Now, with Pittsburgh, I'm pleasantly surprised with that squad. I am actually pleasantly surprised with that squad, and I think that if they continue to do what they're doing, they're going to be set up pretty nice for success.
They're going to be good. They were pretty good last year when they had Kenny Pickett. He got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a quarterback last year, so he's the back.
That's right.
And they really didn't lose much. They really didn't lose much on offense with him. Like, he was the one that went to the league, but everybody else pretty much came back. So they get that quarterback situation settled, they could be good.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I really think they can be. Like I said, that game was a really good game from start to finish. I was kind of hoping that maybe Pittsburgh tied up again or whatever, but it is what it is. I enjoyed it. I want to talk about there's 2 more games I want to talk about. This one I really want to hit because that is Texas A&M and App State.
Man, you bringing up all the games that made me rip up my bet slip yesterday. Let's talk about that. Man, college football, man. So if you gamble, if you go to a sports book or you got these apps and you bet, it's great. I do it too. Yesterday for college football, you either were very, very happy or you ripped up your bet slip by 3 o'clock. I was one of those that ripped up their bet slip by 3 o'clock. That's all I got to say about that game, man. That's all I got. You got
it. That game, man. I looked at that game, and I mean the way that Appalachian State was playing, I was like, man, they might pull this game off. I was like, they don't look like they just. It's not like they were. I know that they did. They definitely didn't look like they were scared of Texas A&M at all.
No,
that was number one. And they had played a tough game against North Carolina the week prior. And I thought that, I was like, man, they look really good. I was like, man, what they got going on down there? And I was like, what's going on? So yeah, I mean, I was just like, yo, this is a pretty good squad, and I didn't know if they had enough emotional strength to go through this game.
Right.
But their emotional toughness, their mental toughness, of course, their physical toughness. I mean, that was all those questions were answered as they continue to play tough against Texas A&M, and then pulled out the 17-14 victory over that squad. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wait a minute, hey, y'all better stop taking some of these schools for granted and thinking that you're just gonna walk through some of these schools. Because I mean, it's not like Michigan State playing against Akron, you know what I'm saying, where they won 52-0, you know what I'm saying, or like Mississippi playing against Central Arkansas where they won, I think it was 59-3, or Oklahoma playing against Kansas State where they won where Oklahoma beat Kansas State 33-3. Y'all better, hey, I'm telling you, like you said before in one of our episodes, I think it was season 1, this is why we play the games. Because nothing's guaranteed. You go in there with that attitude of, hey, we about to walk through these squads. Oh, yeah, we about to walk through these boys. And all of a sudden they come in there, like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got to play until they get hit, until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Real. That's a trap game. We ain't got no plans here, all the plans out the window. But Appalachian State, in college football, Appalachian State is a trap game. And what I mean by that is you think you get an easy game, you get them out there on the field, they come on the road, like they are prepared for that. They're like what USF was like a few years ago, South Florida. Yes. Those some trap games, man. They can come to any stadium. The moment's never too big for them. Like everybody thought that they was just going to get beat. Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M. But I give credit to Appalachian State's defense. Like you hold Texas A&M to 14 points. Like you got to give it up to them. If you tell me that Appalachian State is going to play one of these Power 5 schools that's supposed to be making it to the college football playoffs and they hold them to 14, I'm gonna say, all right. So who was hurt? Was the quarterback injured? Like was their best player out? But Appalachian State, man, they've been doing this for years. Remember the game-winning field goal against Michigan back in the day? Like, they got it in them, and they just pulled off another one this year. So it's good to see. College football doesn't look like it's just easy games every week. Like you don't just scrap out the first month of college football because it's just gonna be bad teams or FBS teams. Like it's good teams. So Appalachian State just putting the little schools on the map. Just like Georgia Southern against Nebraska. So I like that.
And I like that. I love that. I just love the fact that there's a lot, it's not just one of those games where you sit there, you can look at the sheet and be like, oh, okay, this two schools playing this school, oh, that's an automatic win. That school playing that school, that's an automatic. Like if you, like you said, if you're better, you betting on games, you better be paying attention. You better be paying attention. Sure. Yeah, because if not, you're gonna be like Scott Frost. Like what am I supposed to do here? So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna give you. Let's see, 3 games. I'm gonna give you 3 games that's coming up for next Saturday. I want you to tell me who you think is going to win that game and why. First game is going to be number 6 Oklahoma going against Nebraska. They're playing Saturday at 11 a.m. in Nebraska.
Okay.
So you got that. Let's go ahead and go with that one. Then I give you the other one.
Do one at a time, or you gonna name them all?
Let's go one at a time. Let's go one at a time.
OU's going to Nebraska, so that'll be an emotional game, right? This will be the first game without Scott Frost. It's in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, so like fans will show out. I think the players will play hard. They may give Oklahoma a half. I think they'll give Oklahoma a good first half. Like they'll compete. It'll be a breath of fresh air. Like a lot of times when you have a firing like that, it's just the coaches, his message is get his or her message isn't getting through to the players, right?
Right. Yes.
You don't have the voice in the locker room anymore. So when that coach leaves, when said coach leaves, the players feel a breath of fresh air. They probably play a little more free. They probably like the coordinators better, so they'll play hard. I think that first half will be a good game. They'll make it a good half. But then by halftime, I think OU will wake up and say, all right, like we're better than them. Like OU is just a more talented team. That's not necessarily the case every week, as you can see. But my personal opinion, I think it'll be a good first half. They'll play hard, but they're just not talented enough. I think OU go in there and probably beat them. I don't even know what the spread is yet. I haven't even seen the betting line yet. But I would say that OU would beat them by double digits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you on that. Okay, second game. The newly number 1 Georgia
Bulldogs
going against South Carolina.
Okay,
they're playing Saturday at 11 a.m. in South Carolina. Who do you got on that one?
I got Georgia, man. That defense, I mean, they picked up right where they left off last year. The defense is ridiculous. They got pros on that side. It's about 3 or 4 dudes that's going to the league for sure next year. They will be in the draft next year. They may be drafted in the first 3 rounds. Like they're good. I don't see South Carolina really doing anything with them at all that game. So I think Georgia finished them off pretty quick. They hungry. They feel like they still disrespected even after winning the national championship. We talked about it on the last episode.
Yes,
sir. They were number 2, number 3. And now they finally leaped over Alabama, rightfully so. They should have been number 1 to open the season with, as a national champ. But I think they take that momentum and run with it. Like they want to prove like we are better than everybody. So I wouldn't be this game may be over real quick.
It might be. I mean, it might be like that Georgia. Was it Oregon they played?
Yeah, that game was over.
It was over quick. It was over quick. Now, okay, so third game, I was going to talk about Alabama, but I'm not going to talk about that game. They're playing against Louisiana Monroe. If that game, if they let Monroe score over 21, actually they let them score over 10 points, I'm done with Alabama. But
if you watch enough college football, you understand every time Alabama plays against a big name team or a quote unquote big game, they get one of these, tune-up games.
Yeah, that's what I see. Like wait,
they get tune-up games like mid-season. They'll play Louisiana Monroe in like week 7. It's like nobody else is doing that. Everybody's playing conference games by this time, and y'all got a tune-up game October 15th. Like it's crazy. So
it's like the NFL. It's like the NFL during preseason when they're doing joint practices. That's what I feel like sometimes when it comes to some of those games with Alabama. So I don't really want to focus on that squad now.
Clean up those penalties.
And the same thing with Ohio State. I think they're playing against Toledo. That's pretty much going. But there's a game I'm really interested in. That I'm kind of like, this could be something, and that's Texas Tech against NC State. They play Saturday at 6 p.m. Yeah, okay. See, you did the exact same thing I did when I saw that. I was like, ooh, okay. So, what are your thoughts on that game?
Hey, that might be a basketball score. That's gonna be a shootout. Texas Tech, that's gonna be NC State. That game may be in the 40s and 50s for sure. That one's gonna be a shootout.
It has the potential of being that. They're both. I mean, the offenses are great.
Exactly, and Texas Tech has always been that way. Fast break, they spread you out. Big 12 type football. I think where's that game at? Is it in?
I'm sorry. It's at NC State.
Okay, it's in NC State. Yeah, and NC State can put points too. So I wouldn't be surprised if that game in the 40s, 50s. If I had to pick a team to win, I say NC State at home. I think that's a night game.
I mean,
Texas Tech.
Most people don't really realize it, especially if you're not one of those avid college football watchers. You're paying attention to the rankings. Most people don't realize NC State's ranked. They're ranked 16th right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, most people, from the past, they know that most times Texas Tech has been ranked and they've had a great football team, and most people don't really pay attention to NC State, but yet they've got a great team.
Yeah, NC State's good. That's another ACC school that's going to be pretty good. When they run into Pittsburgh later this year, that'll be a good one. But
Yeah.
I think that could be a high-scoring game, but I'll take NC State to win that one at home.
Okay. All right. I agree with you. Now, we're talking about one more game that happened. We're talking about a game that happened.
Okay.
And for this game, I need to bring on our producer, Iron Man, a.k.a. Anthony Simpson, a.k.a. Tony Starks, a.k.a. the man with the gadgets, joining us for this game right here. What up, man? What's up, baby?
What's up, fellas? What's up?
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring Anthony on here because I want to talk about this game that happened because my nephew, his son, Corell Simpson, and there he is right there, my boy right there, Corell Simpson doing his thing. They played was Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday they played Mayville State University out of Mayville, North Dakota.
Okay, what school is your son at? What school is Corell?
Nebraska Wesleyan University in Lincoln.
In Lincoln, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
UW, okay.
Yeah.
So Rashard would have loved that because he's up in Nebraska.
Yeah. So this is the first.
So how'd that game go?
It's the first time we met the team, and it's by far one of the farthest to travel. We drove from Kansas City. There is a 9.5 hour drive one way. They're a pretty small school, so I get the game notes. They send the game notes out a couple of days before. And it's got to be a typo. It's got to be a typo because it said their school population is 449 students. I was like, bruh, like 10% of your students is on the squad. Like what?
Hey,
It's like
that may not be a typo, man. Hey, Sterling, I'm a Sterling College alumni, man. It was 680 of us at Sterling College.
bruh.
Oh, wow.
We had every sports team, so most of our college was sports. So
Was athletes, yeah.
It was school athletes for sure. Everybody knew
Well,
I was
like,
in.
So you only had like two or three students that were like the managers for all the sports.
Right.
You knew why we were there.
Running around taking care of
Y'all had
everybody.
no band, no like y'all. If y'all band, like if you was playing a basketball game or a football game, you had to be like in high school where you had to go in at halftime, go grab.
It's just one dude. It's just one dude standing on the sideline with a boombox. That's the band.
Got a little drum machine on there.
But no, I mean, listen, it was a crusher. It was one of those that it went into overtime. You can kind of check the box score. I mean, in all honesty, man, by third quarter, we thought we were going to wrap them up. It was a hard fought game. And, if we're honest and we're fans, we always think we should have won the game. It don't matter. It don't matter, but honestly, this was one of those games where, I think we just, it happens. We just weren't clicking all the time. And when things started rolling and we got momentum, I think we kind of backed off a little bit, took our feet off the throat, so to speak. And it's that quicksand thing, so the minute the other team gets a little bit of momentum, you start to panic, you start to get a little overwhelmed. And the next thing you know, you're making mistakes that you don't normally make. So it went into overtime. It really was a bit of a nail biter. But we weren't able to come away with the win. But I've heard it said before. I repeated to my son, bro, you get 24 hours to think about, what you could have done, what you should have done. And I'm glad you brought up earlier about refs. He had made the comment. He's like, well, I was pulled down on that last play. And, then the guy was able to get separation. I'm like, but you can't control any of that. You can't do a thing about that. All you can do is at best to say, okay, listen, is there something about my technique that I can change? Is there some way that I can get an advantage even if the guy's a little bit bigger than me? Study other guys other corners that are smaller. What did they do? Those type of things. But I said, the only thing you can control is the same thing. Only thing you control is you. So you take the next 24 hours, If you want to beat yourself up, if that's what you got to do, so be it. If you take ownership over the things that you didn't do, cool.
Yeah.
Learn from it, but then move on. You can't do anything after that 24 hours is up. So, and that's a life lesson, right? That's not just not just football. That's life in general. When something comes up and you, man, I made a mistake. I should have done this. I should have done that. You can't do anything about it after it's done. So you focus on it for a minute. Figure out what adjustments you need to make, and then make sure that you actually take ownership of that and say, well, this is what I'm going to do to fix it, and be diligent about it, and then move on. He sent me a text message later on. We were on the road, and he's like, I'm sorry I wasn't in a better mood. I was like, bro, you don't have to apologize to me, man. It's a tough loss. It's not like I was on the sideline doing jumping jacks and I'm bummed out about the loss too, bro. So, but I said, in reality, we don't come to the games because we expect that he's going to win. We come to the games because we support him. We want to watch him play. The wins are nice, but it was a hard fought game. I don't know if I should say this. Maybe I get the programs, bro. So I make it a point every game. I get a program. I want to see where y'all recruit because I'm like, who's coming to North Dakota to play ball? Man, there was 8 brothers on there from Las Vegas and about 5 from Phoenix. I'm like, yeah, and it's really interesting to see where these D3 schools, where they recruit from, where they're getting their players from. You would assume, or it may be easy to assume, they're getting people from their system, their region. Okay, if it's a North Dakota school, aren't you getting kids from South Dakota? Maybe you get somebody from from Minnesota, those type of things. But bro, California and Arizona and Nevada is where they got a lot of their players. So, that's a big commitment to leave.
But I always wondered that though, like, what are you promising these kids to go to a school like that from
playing
California?
Time? Yeah, playing time.
I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Because the way D3 schools, it's not like D1 where you getting a full ride, right? And to be honest with you, D1s aren't even really full rides. I mean,
no,
they call them that technically, but they're not full rides. So they may be covering their tuition and books, but they're not covering dorms and those type of things. So, but even at that, not everybody on the squad at D1 is getting a full ride, right? So what happens a lot of times at these D3 schools, they'll give them some money to help, but really these guys are going because I can get playing time. Maybe I can develop and even maybe in a year or two transfer to a larger school, So if I don't get tape, then it don't matter, so I go to these schools where I can get on the squad, I can get some stats, and maybe, especially in some of these conferences, maybe I might be able to break a few records, right? I get noticed, and then I can bump up and maybe get to a really large D2 or a D1 school, and then then jump from there. So there's paths. I mean, there's paths to get into another level, and some guys take it because, well, I can get my grades together. Maybe I could have gone to. I mean, we saw that on where we're from, Independence, Kansas. The football team was on the
ICC.
Yeah, what was that show?
Not Hard Knocks. I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, yeah. But these guys, they're almost like farm systems. These guys, maybe they got in trouble or they can't get their grades up, so they go to these small schools where they can get a little bit more one-on-one attention, get your grades up, and still work on your game, get your tape together, and then maybe transfer back or transfer to another larger school. So, it is interesting. And you can see a very distinct difference in, for instance, the size of the players at D3 versus D2 and D1. I mean, you talk about. I remember when Carroll was being recruited, and we went to Butler for a campus visit, and I kept thinking, these dudes is tiny, like You know, I'm like, bro, I look like I could be out there. You know, so, so but you know, that's the difference. So we had a friend of ours that coaches at North Dakota State, and he was like, bro, if he was about 20 pounds heavier, I'd definitely pick him up. You know, so but again, you know, I think these small schools, they get guys where, you know, they want to be able to play, you know, and not sit on a bench somewhere. I'd much rather, at least to me, it seems like you'd much rather, if you love the sport, you'd rather go to a smaller school and play than to walk on or, you know, go to a large school simply because of name and never get a minute of playing time.
Right. Yeah. Now, I say to go along with that before we take a quick break. Your last point on that. I mean, I definitely, you know, I could definitely, resonate with that because of the fact, you know, when I graduated high school, like I had no aspirations of going to college whatsoever. You know, I honestly wanted to join the military out of high school, but because of our grandmother, I promised her I would not join the military because she went through that. She went through the whole military experience with, you know, our father when he was in the Marines, and so she's like, look, I don't want you to join the military while I'm alive. And so I was kind of at a point like, well, man, I really wish I would have took school a little bit more seriously because I was like, hey, I ain't got nothing to do now. You know, so, but you know, but God was looking out. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and I got the opportunity to go to Neosho, and I was a walk on there. And like I had no plans of I didn't foresee myself getting significant playing time, you know, at all, because I looked at those guys and like you said, walking in there, you know, I'm 6'1", you know, 6'1", between 6'1", 6'2", and I was the second shortest guy on the team. You know what I'm saying? The next shortest guy on the team to me was 6'5", and I'm like, what am I doing here? But you know, but I mean it made so much more sense because we had so many guys that were coming from D1 schools because of their grades, because they couldn't get their grades, because, you know, financially it just wasn't working out, because they had gotten some trouble back home, and some of these other schools like Oklahoma, Georgetown, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was another D1 school that sent players to that school because of our head coach, who had great relations because he played at University of Kansas, and he played at Pitt State, and he had great relations with a lot of these coaches, and so they used it, like you said, as a farm system. So those kids were able to come in, they were able to get their grades up, they were able to work themselves into a position where they can be working towards a professional athlete. They got that background. They were able, like I said, get the grades. They were able to work as, okay, this is how I have to handle myself in the classroom. This is how I need to handle myself when I'm out in public. This is how I need to handle myself when I'm dealing with fans and you know, anybody else that I encounter. And so they were able to work on things like that, which I think is a great thing. That's why I tell players. I had a player that played for me this past season. Was going to play for me this past season, but he's kind of teetering on going to college or come playing for me. And I told him, number one, if you come play for me, you'll never be able to play college because that no involves your college eligibility because you're playing a semi-pro sport. And I said, I would rather for you to go to college and get that experience. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I would rather for you to do that. Now, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to tell you, oh, well, you need to go try it again. No, if it doesn't work, if that's not something you see, that's fine. Come, hey, we can do this. You know, we can work the professional route. But junior colleges are a wonderful thing. And I don't think they get enough credit for the opportunities they can present a lot of students and athletes, because the simple fact is you can go there. You don't have as much pressure on you. Plus, you can knock out a lot of your gen ed classes. And when you go to your next school, your next 4-year school, you really don't have to all you have to really do is take your core classes. And when I got to McPherson College after leaving the Osho, fam, my weekly schedule, I had 5 classes. You know what I'm saying? I had 2 on Monday. I had 1 on Tuesday. I had 1 on Wednesday, and I had 1 on Thursday. I had no classes on Friday. I loved it. You know what I'm saying? I had all my credits knocked out. So I mean, I was coasting. So I mean, other than that, I think it's a wonderful thing that, you know, these that there's opportunities as long as, these kids have an opportunity. They realize that. I think you're doing a great job with Correll. Of course, you've done a great job with Janae. But with Correll, a lot of the advice you're telling them, you can't control things. Only control what you can control. You can't control refs, and like we said earlier in the show, what I'm saying, you can't control everything. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you control is how you react to things. And that's wonderful advice from a parent. It's wonderful advice from, someone who's just trying to look out for somebody and help them stay on the right path and everything like that. So what we're going to do, let's take a quick break, and I mean quick. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to jump into some NFL. Now, this is going to be hurting all three of us. Actually, Anthony, I would like for you to join back in because we're also going to tie the NFL into he's shaking his, y'all see him shaking his head. We're gonna tie the NFL into some fantasy football.
Fantasy football.
And
So the devil. So the devil.
Rashard better be glad he's not on this episode right now, because we all probably be trying to punch him through the screen.
Right.
So we're gonna take a real quick break, and we're gonna be back with more. Hey, Coach. Hey everybody, how are you doing? We are back with more Hey Coach. I am Tim Simpson. Right now joining me is, of course, 1/3 of the Hey Coach podcast with Jamal Mundane. We are missing Rashard Collins. I think we're missing him on purpose because of this next segment coming up. So I'm starting to think that he purposely decided to skip out on us, Jay. That's what I'm really starting to think right now. But it is what it is.
He's got some stuff going on, and we miss him.
He does.
He'll be back next week for sure.
Oh yes, most definitely will.
So it's all good though.
Yes, it is what it is. But let's get into some of the NFL matchups that are going on that have been going on today. Well, first let's talk about the Thursday night game. Let's talk about Thursday night game. Bills versus the Rams, the defending champs. Rams, the banner went on. They unveiled the banner. They had the fireworks, and everything was beautiful. And then they got blasted. And Josh Allen said, "I'm that dude." So that game ended up being 31-10 in favor of the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Josh Allen just pretty much validated, everything I thought about him as a player. He's a great quarterback, just a physical specimen. I mean, he's like oh my God, the way he can run the ball. Number one, he's a big quarterback, and he's got a tremendous arm. And with all that, what's at the core of it is his quarterback mind. I mean, the way he's able to see things, break things down, stay cool under pressure, and just keep continually driving this team down the field is I love watching him play. I am quickly becoming a huge fan of Josh Allen. I was already a fan of him, but I'm becoming a huge fan of Josh Allen right now. What are some of your thoughts and takeaways from that game Thursday night?
So Thursday night, it was basically a Super Bowl celebration party, culmination of what they did last season, and then a football game broke out. That's pretty much what it was. It was a big party in Hollywood, and a football game broke out. So the Buffalo came to play, and this happens a lot when teams win a championship and they celebrate it. This is the last night that they can celebrate the success from the year before. It happens a lot in the NBA. The ring ceremony actually happens in the NBA on opening night. But football usually does that in the summer. Like they have a banquet, and their team, they have their rings. So they don't have to worry about the ring ceremony actually in football, but they do drop the banner. They probably have a video, highlights of what happened last year. The game doesn't start. It normally does. Your routine changes. But Buffalo came out focused. They looked a little rusty, and that is a product of preseason when you only get 3 preseason games, and your starters, your number ones, don't play, right? So this is the first time they've played together full speed against another opponent. And you can see the rust or, the miscues in the first half. Josh Allen threw 2 picks in the first half. One of them really wasn't his fault. One got off his guy's hands, and one was a bonehead decision. But he obviously they cleaned it up in the second half. The defense showed up, and the Rams are going to be good this year, but they had miscues as well, like Matthew Stafford picks. It was just sloppy. Yeah. So these first couple games you see are going to be sloppy, penalties, turnovers, things like that, drop passes. It'll take about 3-4 weeks before everything is cleaned up. Usually in football, the offense is more further along than the defense anyway. Buffalo, I think Buffalo's for real. I said it in the last episode, that they're probably my Super Bowl favorite. I just think they're hungry from all these years of disappointment with the Chiefs and, the AFC championship games that they played in. I think they're just taking these steps in the right direction. Getting Von Miller, Von Miller pretty much wrecked the game. And you get a leader like that in the locker room that has championship, Super Bowl experience, guys love to play with. I think that shores up that side of the ball, and I think the offense is just rolling. Like Josh Allen's only going to get better and better with the playbook. He's like 26 years old. So I think they just showed they can play a primetime game against a big team, a big name team, and go out and perform. So they will be favored in probably every game they play this year. Buffalo will be. They'll slip up some. Most teams do. Nobody's perfect. But it was good to see them Thursday night. So they were the one game everybody had to watch, and they just went shut out. So it was a good game for Buffalo. They look good. And I think they're only going to get better. This is the crazy part. That was just week 1. I think they're only going to get better.
Now, my biggest thing, I figured that the offense was going to be, what it was last season, and with some of the additions they had, I thought they were going to be, just that much better. But I was wanting to see the defense. I was wanting to see the addition of Von Miller. I was wanting to see what he was going to bring to the table, and what I saw, I absolutely loved.
Yes.
Von Miller, like you said, his leadership coming into that locker room. They've got some young guys on that defensive side, and even Von Miller too.
Fresh too.
Yes. I mean, he looked like he stepped into the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
He really looked good. And the reason why I was so interested in it, because I wanted to see if his leadership, having 2 Super Bowl championships under his belt, what he was going to be able to bring to that young defense. And even like by his own admission, he said, hey, my thing was, he said, people asked me why I left, LA. He was like, LA did everything for me. He said, I love them. I'm saying? I love that organization, love the players. He said, but I like being around younger guys. He said, I like being able to have that opportunity to be a mentor and be able to help bring those guys up. And you saw it.
Yeah. You
saw it on the field Thursday night. And I am so beyond excited to see what these guys are going to do this season. That's going to be another team I'm definitely going to be following throughout the season as everything takes place. So I'm looking forward to it. I thought they did great. I did not think the score was going to be like that. I'm gonna be honest. I did not think it was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be a more high scoring game on both sides.
Sure.
I mean, Buffalo put up 31 points. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I really thought the Rams were going to put up a fight. Yeah. But like you said, Allen threw some interceptions. Stafford had I don't remember how many interceptions he threw. But I know there's at least 1 or 2. Well, I think it was 1 or 2 that bounced off of receivers' hands that receivers should have caught. So there's at least 2 that weren't totally his fault. And then a couple that was just bad reads, or him just trusting his arm too much. So I think the Bills played great. I think they're going to get even better. Rams played we won't say it on live TV, but
hopefully it won't be a Super Bowl hangover for them and for Cincinnati.
Yeah, we'll get into that game too.
Okay.
I think the Rams will play a lot better. But since you brought up Cincinnati, let's go ahead and jump onto that one. The Cincinnati and the Steelers. That game was just, oh my God. That game reminded me of, like, going out partying like all night and drinking a whole bunch of stuff you should never have drank, and waking up with a really bad hangover, and then having to sit, and listen to somebody lecture you about your poor life decisions. That's what that game felt like to me. That game was so crazy. Joe just, I mean, he was rusty.
He didn't look like himself.
No, he didn't look like himself. He was definitely rusty. I truly believe, with some of the additions they've had, whatever. I think they'll be okay. I don't think this first game is going to define them in any way. But they've got some things they need to work on. The Steelers, Mitch, he looked pretty good. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't look too bad. He didn't make too many mistakes. He drove the ball down the field. He kept him in, position to win.
Right.
Right. And that's all you really want from. So he reminds me of Joe Flacco with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't really need him to do a whole bunch. They just didn't need him to lose the game for him, because their defense was so great. Their defense was so great at that time. They just needed him to manage the game and not lose it for him. And I think that's what Mitch could be for the Steelers. And if that's the case, I mean, their defense looked pretty good.
And that's what he will be. He'll be what you call a bridge quarterback, right? We talked about Kenny Pickett earlier when we talked about college football. The quarterback they drafted from Pittsburgh College.
Yes,
he's going to be the franchise quarterback. He's a first round draft pick quarterback. That's going to be the guy. So between Ben Roethlisberger and getting Kenny Pickett ready to play pro football, you need to bridge that gap. Yes. So Mitchell Trubisky is a guy that can bridge a gap for you. He knows the playbook. He's been a pro for years. He doesn't crack under the pressure. And like you said, you want him to not lose the game. You don't want him to go in there and try to win the game for you. But he's not going to make too many mistakes. If he knows where he's supposed to go, and he's athletic. So he's an underrated athletic quarterback. Like, he can use his legs.
Yes.
He can make quick reads. He'll get the first two reads out. He doesn't get through the whole progression, but he doesn't have to because of his athleticism. Like, he's not Tom Brady. He's not going to sit in the pocket and read the whole defense and come all the way back. Like, he can't compute it like that.
Right.
But he can use his legs. So with that, if Pittsburgh plays good defense like they did today, they were flying everywhere. Blocked field goals. Yeah. Unfortunately, they lost TJ Watt. Tore his pec muscle. He even said it, if you watch the game, he was running to the sideline like, I tore my pec. He was telling me.
It's the same one he tore. It's the same one he tore before.
Yeah.
So he already knew.
So unfortunately, that may be season ending. Like, if you tear a muscle, unfortunately. But that defense will fly around. Pittsburgh is known for the defense. They're similar to the Bears in that regard. Like, the defense is going to be who they are. You just want a quarterback that doesn't give the game away. With that being said, I think Cincinnati, they might have a Super Bowl hangover this year. This is just one game, so I'm not going to make no crazy takes. Yeah. But you also got to remember, Joe Burrow had an appendectomy in the offseason. Did not play any preseason at all.
Right.
This was his first game playing. Yeah. So you can tell how rusty he was. I mean, he threw 4 picks.
Yes.
Like, he was real rusty. It did not look like Joe Burrow. But when they needed him to make plays, he did. If you watch that last drive that should have won them the game, when Mika Fitzpatrick blocked the field goal, how he drove down the field, he's in sync with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is a freak. He catches everything. And they end up driving down the field, boom, boom, boom. He knows those plays to get down the field and score touchdowns. So he's got that burned in his mind. So you saw flashes of it today, but a little bit of rust in the first half. I think they'll be fine. It's just tough that you lose a game like that to a divisional opponent, because you don't want to be back. Now they're a game back in the division because the Ravens won and you lost to Pittsburgh head-to-head. So you don't want to do – and the Browns won. So now technically they're in last place in the division after one game. Everybody else won to go. So that type of stuff you wish don't happen. You'd rather want the tie, honestly, if you're playing a divisional opponent. So that's a little deeper, into the standings like that. But on the surface, for the game, it was a great game. Little sloppy. Pittsburgh had great defense. Joe Burrow was a little rusty, but he showed up. He was Joe Burrow in the second half. A bunch of missed field goals. I don't know what's wrong with the footballs today on Sunday, but a lot of people was missing field goals today. And Pittsburgh.
Look, I would say, Cincinnati, for that game, it was rough for them. Their long snapper gets hurt. They end up having to bring in a backup tight end to do the long snapping, and he showed why he's the backup, long snapper. Which I said this to a buddy of mine earlier when we were watching one of the games, and I was like, I wondered why they don't just really try to figure out how to keep two legit long snappers instead of just having one long snapper, and then if something happens to him, now you're trusting somebody else to come in, to try to do it. And it showed. It showed because the first one was a slow snap, which is the reason why the extra point got blocked, because that game was over. That game was over.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So Cincinnati would have walked off with the win. Great. It was a great drive. The pass from Chase. Yeah.
Pittsburgh was beating them the entire game, and they came all the way back.
That last pass, and that touchdown pass from Burrow to Joe Cool to Chase. I'm like, oh, that's great. I was like, yeah, he still got it, and they end up ultimately losing. Because the simple fact is, the long snap, the first snap was perfect, but slow. Then the second one, when they had a chance to win it, he snapped it too high. Laces out. Laces out.
So yeah, man.
And they lose the game. So I'm gonna ask you this question, okay? Because we kind of talked about this earlier. You and I talked about this, but I'm gonna ask you, what's more impressive? Okay, more impressive. Okay, the Bills, the Bills Rams game where the Bills, came out and they just looked great. Was that game? Yeah, was that game more impressive, or the next game I want to talk about, the Chiefs and the Cardinals? The kicker gets hurt, and they bring in was a defensive player.
Yeah, it was a DB or a linebacker.
They brought in DB to kick kickoffs, and he kicked a couple extra points for him.
Yeah, he kicked some PAT.
And his first kickoff was not only out of the end zone, but through the uprights.
Yeah.
So, to you, what's more impressive?
It's got to be that one, right? That's the definition of next man up. Like your kid roll his ankle on a kickoff, and you looking down your sideline like, who can kick field goals? And this dude like, I played soccer in college. I can kick field goals, and went out there with confidence and made them. So the irony of that, because of today, and this is why sports are so great. All these kickers were missing field goals. Like in the Bears game, Carl Santos missed a couple field goals, but they were playing in a monsoon anyway. But he missed a couple.
Yeah, it was bad.
Obviously, games going into overtime because of missed and blocked field goals. And then a guy that's not even paid to be a kicker, it has a great day kicking the ball. So that's just the irony of sports, right? You come in.
So does that mean he gets 2 checks?
He needs to get a bonus at least. Give him a bonus at least.
Shoot a couple extra $100, you know what I'm saying? Or go buy some limited edition J's or something. I don't know. Hook the brother up with something.
That's pretty impressive. Like not only do we not need Tyreek Hill, we don't need our kicker either.
Yeah, they just say, hey, we don't need none of y'all. So y'all really better start doing y'all job.
Right.
But even after that, the kicker came in at the end of the half. Yeah. He came back. And he shortened up his kick stride, took one step and booted I think it was a 52-yarder.
Yeah, it was a deep one, yeah.
And with one step and just booted it, and still had at least 5 to 10 yards that he could have probably kicked that bad boy.
Big leg.
So that's still impressive. I'm just saying that's very impressive. Now let's talk about your Chicago Bears. Okay.
Monster.
They end up playing against I see you. That's why I'm going to talk about them. Maybe that's what I'm talking about. But they played against the 49ers, okay, in Chicago. They end up winning 19-10.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Justin Fields from last year to this season? What are some things you think that he really did well in this game, and some things that maybe he still needs to grow on?
What he did really well in this game is he kept his poise. In the first half, there was a lot of mistakes being made. He wasn't throwing the ball well at all. I think he only threw maybe 6 passes in the first half. So I think he just wasn't comfortable. You know, the 49ers is a great defense. We were down, I think we were down 10-0 in the first half. You know, going into halftime,
yes.
we were. And our defense, they didn't score any more the rest of the game. So obviously it's a salute to what our defense can do to anybody. They've proven that over the years, that same core group. And with Justin Fields, I think with him, his poise you got to be more impressed about. Like he didn't feel like he needed to press anything. Any opportunity he had, he took. You know, we had a play broke up in the third quarter. It was a broken play, and last year he wouldn't even saw the receiver on the right side of the field for a wide open touchdown, 52-yard touchdown pass. He would have checked down or he would have tried to use his legs. So he shows his maturity from year 1 to year 2 to keep his eyes down the field so you can see that wide receiver. He runs in the rest of the yards. You know, Justin Fields threw like a 20-yard pass to him. And he ran the rest. So it's things like that. And then not being satisfied. Like we take the lead, but he still marches us down the field. And, you know, we get a good drive. And then David Montgomery, or actually Khalil Herbert, ran it in for a touchdown. Our second running back, Khalil Herbert, gets it in. So it's just things like his poise and understanding the playbook early. You know, it's a new coach, a new GM. Like we got some new things going on, but I think they're going to move him. They're going to progressively get him better. He is the franchise. You don't want to rush him. Our defense will hold and do well. Like we'll hold teams under 20 points. That won't be a problem. But it's just his poise and understanding it's a 60-minute game. Just continue to make the right reads and make the right plays, and I think he'll be good. This year, I don't know how many games we'll win. I don't think we'll be a playoff team, but we can make games ugly. And if the games get ugly, we can win those. And this was an ugly game. The weather was bad. And as soon as I saw it was raining, I was like, we got it. I knew right away we were going to win that game because the type of team that we are. Bears are a gritty team. We win those grind them out games that nobody likes to play. Like we're all about them. We won all those games. Like we still have real grass in Soldier Field. We're one of the few teams that still have real grass, no dome. I was telling my wife earlier. I called her. She not at home, and I was talking to her, watching the game, and I was like, the field is so messed up at Soldier Field. On TV, they digitally had to make. You guys can see the 50, 40, 30-yard lines on our podcast. On TV, they had to digitally make those black. They highlighted them black because the field was so nasty in the fourth quarter. You couldn't see the lines on TV. Like you didn't know where you were. So they had to digitally put that in. So I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It's like I wish we had 8 games like that a year. Nobody
That's a true Bears fan. True Bears fan.
Nobody would want to play in games. For sure. And that's it. There's very few teams in the NFL that love playing in those types of conditions and making the games, grind them out. Like I know our offense, we don't have the greatest show on turf. We're not the Buffalo Bills. We're not the Chiefs. Like we know who we are, and we can make the game ugly. We'll win all the close games. I'm good with it. So we beat a good team. We beat a good team today.
Like one coach I had said, "Hey, an ugly win is just as beautiful as a blowout." Hey, you know, it's a win. It's still in the win column.
You know what my coach used to tell me in high school? He said, I'd rather almost lose than almost win every time.
Yeah. I hear you. That's Bible right there. Now, speaking of almost losing and losing, one game I want to talk about, which was a lot of people, I don't know why. I guess I can kind of see why they were talking about it. I really wasn't interested in the game whatsoever. But that was the Cleveland Browns and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Like I really wasn't like overly interested in the game. because it's the Browns and the Panthers.
Sure.
But I can get the storyline behind it. Baker Mayfield going against his former team.
The revenge.
And it actually, which actually it turned out to be a pretty decent game. I mean, Cleveland ended up pulling the victory out 26-24. Baker Mayfield had a pretty decent game. He went 16 for 27 for 235 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was good to see McCaffrey again, but he was only held to 33 yards rushing.
Yes.
So I mean, and he had 24 yards receiving. But Brissett, I mean, he had a pretty solid game. 18 for 34, 147 yards passing with 1 touchdown. Chubb was a beast like always. He had 141 yards. Didn't score. Yeah, Kareem Hunt had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. He had 48 yards rushing and 24 yards receiving. So they pretty much did pretty good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Brissett is a really good fit for that team right now. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson as far as once he gets back. Is he the quarterback for that team?
Yes.
I don't know. Yes. I think he's a great talent. I'm hoping that this does work out for him. But what I love about Brissett is that first of all, I came from the Patriots quarterback tree.
Yeah.
And he was a great quarterback. And he's a guy that's not. He may not give you 40 yards passing, in a game or whatever, but he's a dude that can really manage a game.
Right. He won't give you gaudy numbers. He's a game manager. He's another bridge guy, right? He's got to be a quarterback until Deshaun gets there. So to touch on that point, they guaranteed Deshaun Watson. He has $240 million guaranteed. He's playing. He's the guy. All right. So we end all that discussion. If he is,
I need his agent.
If he can legally, if he ain't going to jail, he's playing. All right. As soon as he's eligible to play, he will play. That's number one. Number 2, Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, he was good in New England. He was even good in Indianapolis when he was there for a little bit. So he's always been a steady guy. He's a career backup guy. He's a Fitz Magic type of guy. Like, he won't give you gaudy numbers, but he won't lose you games. He's a smart quarterback. He will stay within himself. He's not going to try to outdo or try to compete with the other quarterback across the field. He sticks with the game plan and tries to win the game. And it showed today with Baker, right? Everybody was hyping up Baker Mayfield, revenge game. And Jacoby Brissett knows what this team is. He knows that I will lean on the defense. The defense pulls Baker Mayfield. They played against him for the last 4 or 5 years. We know his tendencies. We know we can get him. If we just put pressure on his feet, we know he'll make mistakes. And I just need to sustain drives and get us in position to score. And that's exactly what he did.
Right.
So it was a very Jacoby Brissett type football game. They scored like 20-some points, and Baker played well. The Browns have a good defense, and he actually played well for his first game, his first time out. And I think they'll get better. I think him and Christian McCaffrey will get better. They know they got to get their legs on them. But the Browns, I picked the Browns to win that game, I think. So I wasn't surprised that they won. And I wasn't surprised at Jacoby Brissett. Like, he doesn't make too many mistakes, like I said. He's a mature quarterback. So
in that game,
I don't see any problem with him playing until Deshaun Watson is back.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But when it came to this game, and I hate saying it, but it's true. When it came to quarterback play, if it came down to quarterbacks, I was trusting Brissett more than I trusted Mayfield. And not saying that Brissett's just sort of leagues above Mayfield, but just because of what Mayfield has shown us, throughout his career. Right. And Brissett, like we both have said, is a steady guy. He's not going to go out there and lose you games. He's going to manage the game. He and like you said, your perfect point was he knows his defense. He can lean on his defense. If I don't have it right here on this drive, if it's got to be a 3-and-out or maybe I get a couple first downs, but it's not working out, right, I'm not going to force something down the field or force something in double triple cover. Yeah, we're gonna reset, let our defense do their thing. You know what I'm saying, and then we'll get another crack at it. And I think that's really important, when it comes to a lot of guys. That's one thing I love about Tom Brady. He'll sit there and he'll take his shots down the field and everything, but he'll nickel and dime you.
Absolutely.
From the 5-yard line, from one goal line to the next goal line. You know what I'm saying?
He will take what you give him. He's not gonna.
Yeah.
He will stay within himself, and he will take what you give him. If you're gonna give him the underneath stuff, he will take all the underneath stuff until you make a mistake, and then he's going over the top of your head. Absolutely.
You got to think about it. You got to think about it. In each first down, okay, you got four downs to get a first down, right?
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is go 10 yards. If you get 2 passing plays that are 5 yards, you got a first down.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? If you got one that's only 6 yards and the next one's only 4 yards, oh, what's that? That's a first down. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's one of those things.
As long as you move the sticks, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Of course, the fans, they love the big plays, this and that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm the type of fan. I like long drives. You know what I'm saying? I like to see a team that can sustain a long drive, like what the Chiefs did on several of their drives. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about 10, 11, 12 play drives.
If you can keep a defense, if you can keep a defense on the field for 12 plays, and they got to play a 60-minute game, by the fourth quarter they're gassed, especially in week one. Especially in week one, the offense is again, like I said in my last point, the defense is always playing catch up with the offense in the beginning of the season, and so every offensive coordinator in every locker room on every football team is saying, "Look, what we're working on is long drives. We want to be able to run our stuff, sustain drives, move the sticks, and score touchdowns." The defense is keep backing up. Every down is demoralizing that you got to stay on the field for 10 plays every drive, and then you get scored on, and then your offense come out there and they get 3 and out. And you got to go back out there. You got to go back out there and deal with another 7 plays and get scored on, and then that's.
Let me tell you something, Jay. Let me tell you something, Jay. If I'm playing defense, you're on offense, all right, and we just got through getting off of a 12, 13 play drive, and you walk your butt out there and you get a 3 and out, I'm telling you right now, I'm throwing my helmet at you. I might throw the Gatorade cooler at you. I'm gonna go grab the cart that they go get the players off the field. I'm gonna drive over you. We having a problem. Me and you don't have words.
And that's the game within the game, right? That's what the offense wants to do. The offense wants to stay on the field. If they can score quick, absolutely they want to score quick. But what they want to do is they want that defense to be so tired in the fourth quarter they just wave the white flag. And that's honestly, I keep going back to it. That's kind of what happened in that Bears game. Like in the second half, we made adjustments and we stayed on the field because they showed a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, our first 5 drives was punts. And then in the second half, our next 3 drives was touchdowns. So in those elements, we made an adjustment and we stayed on the field and sustained drives and scored. And then Trey Lance came out and our defense beat him over the head in the rain for 3 downs. And now they come back out there and play in the mud again. Like that's how we were able to win that game. Like that's all you
now,
can do.
For a game that we got going on right now, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, Tampa Bay's up 9-3. So I think a little over or just under 3.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, going towards halftime.
Yep.
This is definitely not the scoring game that I was looking for or that I'm wanting, because going into our next segment, we're going to talk about fantasy football, and both of those quarterbacks are on my fantasy football team. And I am not happy right now. Because they're not giving me anything.
Yes,
Come
sir.
on, Tom. Come on.
That's how it always happens. They hype up the 2 best offensive teams all week long, and then their offense don't do nothing. It'd be a defensive game. They always happen.
Yeah. Now I will say Tom's right now. He's got me 128 points. Dak's only giving me 80. So
right,
I don't know.
I'm gonna pause you right there, and then we're gonna. That's a teaser, right? So we're about to go to commercial, or we're gonna take.
We need to take a break.
But if y'all listening, did y'all hear him just say it's the second quarter, and Tom Brady has 100+ points in the second quarter? So that's a teaser. We're going to explain to y'all the type of fantasy football that we're in when we get back. It's ridiculous.
Like 128 points in the second quarter.
Our fantasy football league should be called NFL Blitz. Like it's next level scoring. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous scoring, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, so that being said, we're gonna take a really, really quick break, and we're gonna be back with more Hey Coach with Coach Tim Simpson, Jamal Mundane, and Rashard Collins.
Yep.
Bruh.
He get on shaking his head.
First of all, I know y'all probably got a way y'all do things and whatnot, but man, I went back and looked at my stuff again. Let me tell you something. First of all, I felt like I'm a new expansion team on the NFL. Like I had to draft not only an entire team, but the practice squad, director of operations, the concession stand people. I even hired people to park cars in the parking lot.
The whole franchise. You gotta draft the whole franchise.
Right. Man, these points, bruh.
I love it. It's crazy. So the fantasy league that we're in, it's NFL.com. The cool thing about it, Rashard is actually the commissioner. He's not here today, but Rashard is the commish. And what makes fantasy football fun is our league is legitimately fantasy football. Like, it's not one of those fantasy football leagues where you try to be meticulous and, the points got to be accurate like the real NFL. No, it's strictly for fun. You score a crazy amount of points. Like, I'm projected to score 1,900 points today. So, we play two of every position, two defenses, D linemen, linebackers, corners. So I personally love it. I've been playing fantasy football for
I like it.
Over 20. It's just something different. It's new. Like I play in leagues that, I'm a commissioner of one league, and that league is like old school. Like if a team scores 200 points in our league, like you went off. Everybody went off. Like they exceeded. if your team gets 200. In this league that we're in here, your quarterback can have 200 points in the first half. Like Tim was saying in the last segment, Brady's got 180-something points in the second quarter because the scoring is
28. Yeah.
120. So the scoring is off the wall. Like any passes they complete, first downs, like anything positive that a player does, they basically score points. But on the flip side, anything a player does negatively, they lose points. For example.
Meanwhile, my defense has negative 38.5 points. Negative. When I look down, I was like, how do you lose points? Like, how do you? I thought it was 0 or above. I actually have a dash in front of my number to indicate that not only did my defense not get points, but they actually gave away points. Like,
they owe you money. The defense could owe you money in this league. So, I got the Rams as one of my defenses. So we were just talking about how Buffalo crashed a party on Thursday, and I ended up with negative points. It looks like in this league, the defense, the points you're gonna get defensively are from individual players. You're not gonna get it from unless your team pitch a shutout, like your defense pitch a shutout or hold somebody like 3 points. You're not gonna score any points with your defense. Your individual guys will get you the points. So now that I see how that works, I'm focusing on my quarterbacks getting the majority of the points and running backs.
Yeah.
That's why I drafted.
I'm looking at mine. Like I said, I have Tom Brady and I have Dak Prescott as my two main quarterbacks. But what really made me sick was one of my backup quarterbacks that I didn't even draft. I think I auto-drafted because I wasn't paying attention and picked up Daniel Jones. And that fool had 384 points. I was like,
there you go.
What?
To all
Even the fact that there's two quarterbacks in the starting lineup. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
how do
three.
I have two quarterbacks?
Yeah.
You can do three.
You can actually have three.
Because
You can actually have three.
there's a utility where it can be a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, tight end, anybody, any offensive player. So I put a quarterback in my spot because quarterbacks score points.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's where Daniel Jones is on mine. He's in that utility spot because you have a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. And he picked up
I got to rethink my entire game plan.
I have Ryan Tannehill in mind, too. He's my third quarterback. So I got Kyler Murray and Derek Carr as my two starters.
Okay.
And then I got Ryan Tannehill as the third guy. So, yeah. So, again, to the audience, the definition of fantasy football, even Daniel Jones can get you 300 points in this league.
This ain't no fantasy. This is a nightmare.
Bruh.
This is fantasy.
I don't see Mariah Carey singing nothing about fantasy.
You know, the funny thing is that in reality, I didn't realize the league was like this. It would have really changed the way I drafted, even though we drafted 727 people.
Right.
It would have.
We got the whole league.
You draft the whole NFL.
Yeah, but honestly, it would have been a little different. You know, because honestly, I didn't even realize the difference until the draft, and I was like, why are we drafting so many people? I kept looking at the rounds like, how long is this draft? And then
he texted me.
I'm looking down, I was like, wait, we drafting linebackers and D-back. I'm like, yeah, so
and that's what got me too, because I forgot because Rashard had told me that's one thing to do, and I completely forgot about it because with some of those other picks, that I had made, I would have went for somebody like Aaron Donald. I would have went for some of these other guys, you know what I'm saying, because I knew they were going to probably go off the board, and I knew they were going to be producing, especially the way he does the scoring for the league, and I completely spaced on it. Because, I was doing other things, and then, I got out here to do the draft, and I was like, oh, man. And then as soon as I seen I scrolled over and saw the linebacker, the defense line, I said, oh, no.
Yeah, bro.
I was mad as I'll get out. I was like, I forgot.
It's
crazy. I love it. I do love it. I love it because.
So what it sounds like is I'm in the league. That's pretty much what it sounds like.
I don't know. I don't know. There's some other guys they got some pretty good squads. You said what?
Rashard was saying everybody gets points like it was an Oprah Winfrey show, bro. Everybody get points in this league.
You get points. You get points.
Bro.
Hey, I love it though. It's something different. Like I've never played a league like this. I've never heard of a league like this before, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And what keeps my sanity is I play in two other leagues that are normal. So this one is kind of like my fun league where I don't even really have to. I don't really have to strategize very much because there's a button on there that says optimize. So basically, puts your best players
and that's what I lean on that. Like when it comes to Wednesday, I open my phone, open the app, optimize, and I close, and I'm gone.
You just have to wait. You just have to watch out because I had optimized, but they you have to be careful though because they'll leave questionable players in as optimized. So if you got a player that's questionable, if they haven't been ruled out, they'll leave them in their lineup because of the expected projected points. Right. You got to pay attention because even though it optimizes and puts the best players in, most points available, just like any other fantasy football league, if they're not ruled out, they're still available, and the system will still think there's still points that you can get for them. But it's crazy because like my quarterback get 580 points and then I got a wide receiver that gets 4.7. Like
they ain't doing that.
You optimize your roster.
What do you do to get 4.7 points when a quarterback is getting 588? Like, oh, you walked out on the field. That's 4 points. Do you remember to bring your water bottle? I'll give you 0.7.
The scoring is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm mad I got Crosby from Green Bay. He gave me one stinking point because they lost 23-7.
Yeah, he showed up for interviews after the game, so they gave him a point.
He got that extra point. And that was it. He didn't do nothing for me. Like I said, it's fun. It really is a very fun league. I love the way it's been structured. But it's so mind-boggling, especially if you've done fantasy football in the past and how it's been structured in the past. You're like, wait, what? And then when you look at it, you realize like, oh man, it's crazy because you can't really go by even how it has, by the profiles, how it has what your potential score is versus the other person's score. You can't even go by that, honestly, because depending on what happens in the game. Yeah, it depends on what happens in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because we already know in this league, kickers reign supreme. So you fool around and get a kicker. Your next thing you know, your kicker done kick like 7-8 field goals. The next thing you know, he's got 575,000 points. And and it
was funny. It was funny too because during the draft, Tim and I were on video call, and it was like the third round. I was like, "Watch, I'm getting ready to draft a kicker."
Still not drafting a kicker. I waited till I think I drafted a kicker last. That was probably about last. I was drafting D lineman.
Oh man,
I just won't do it. My mind won't let me pick a kicker.
Yeah, well, that's what got me because I started seeing the I started seeing the kickers go off. I was like, oh crap, I forgot. We started seeing kickers, man. So I tried to go with some names, man. I was like, well, I'll go get Crosby, and then
of course, didn't nobody get no points today, but
no kickers. They was that DB got some points from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So do you get like triple points if if you had him on your roster?
He ain't even in that position. He just show up with points because he kicked the ball today.
Right. You probably
that would actually be for him. I wonder if that would actually fly. I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know. But that's kind of what we're doing. And some of the things we touched back on. Some things we're looking to do with the show is we definitely like to get the fans' feedback on everything that's going on with the show. We like to maybe at some point do like a fan appreciation, type of show where we have a fan come on and do, join us for a live episode, give you a little segment to come on with the guys and enjoy this craziness that we call family, and enjoy all this. Anthony, can you pull up the social media stuff for us again? But yeah. So, you definitely check us out. Definitely check out the 1/3 Hey Coach. With that, because Jay does a lot of wonderful things with that, fan interaction stuff, and answering questions. If you ever have any questions, you can definitely hit us up on any of the social medias down here. Leave us a question, a comment. If there's something you say, hey, I like to hear you guys talk about this, or you want to bring up a point. If you want to challenge Rashard to one of his many wrong comments that he makes, go right ahead. No, I'm playing. Rashad does a great job. We love him to death. But if you want to ask us a question, or anything, definitely hit us up on here, and we'll definitely get with you, and bring it, maybe possibly bring it up in our next episode. So you can definitely catch us on Facebook at Timothy Rashard Jamal, Twitter at Hey Coach Podcast, and of course at Instagram at Hey Coach Podcast. Like I said, the 1/3. Hey Coach, I'm not sure if Rashard was joking about coming up with his own
2/3 head coach.
The 2/3 head coach. Well, I guess would I be the full head coach? I mean, what head coach?
if he understood fractions, he's also 1/3 of head coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was like, I'm not understanding what you're saying here, buddy.
Like 2/3 head coach would be me and him.
Right. Yes, that's right. Like that. If you both were on there, that's what because he said that to me last time. I was like, what? Anyways, whatever. You
do whatever you want to be, man. It's all good.
Yeah. This is your world, buddy. We just want to support you as much as we can because we love you.
Support as possible in your world, man. That's all.
Yes. This is your world, buddy. But in closing, Jay, do you have any closing remarks that you want to share with the fans?
Yeah. So, week 1 football has been exciting. Glad football is back. We love talking sports, but specifically, we love football. We our Head Coach podcast. We talk all sports. Obviously, there's a heavy emphasis on basketball and football. We sprinkle in a little baseball as well, but we are fans as well as, former players and coaches. So this is just a good time of year. What Tim was saying about what I do weekly, I'm going to start doing it on Facebook Live again. I did it over the summer. I did it during the NBA playoffs. I'm actually going to start doing it on Tuesdays. I will do a live Facebook feed where I'll be 1/3 head coach there as well, answering questions. I'll be talking fantasy football and I'll be talking bets. Okay. So I'll get into, if you have questions about, picking this team, what's the betting lines, how the spreads work. I will be in there talking, giving information on how to place bets. I'll be giving information on how to read parlays, different things. If you have any questions about sports betting. This past weekend, we had a great weekend. I was with some friends for a bachelor party. We were in a state where betting is allowed. So it was fun hanging out with them. We bet on some UFC fights. And I was walking them through the sports book. So I will continue to do that along with the Hey Coach podcast on Tuesday nights. I'll talk sports. We'll talk upcoming football games. We'll talk upcoming betting. We'll talk fantasy football, fan feedback, fan appreciation. I'll answer questions. We can debate stuff. If you got hot takes, we can talk about those. I'll be doing that probably about 30 minutes to an hour every week. So continue to check out the Hey Coach podcast and get all of the information and content from us. Check out the ticker at the bottom so you can see all the social media sites that you can listen to us on as well. Thank you for watching.
Anthony, do you have anything you'd like to close out with?
I do not. No, man, listen, it's fun being back on here with y'all fellas.
Welcome back, man.
Appreciate y'all patience, man. And listen, in full disclosure, I am not a sports fanatic. I like watching the games. Don't ask me no stats. I don't know everybody on the team, but that's the fun part about being on here. I don't have to. These brothers know, and they can pull me out of the waters if I get in there too deep. But yeah,
or we just make it up.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, or we just make it up. Either way,
that's right. Whatever.
I know a little bit.
I know a little bit
about it.
Yeah.
I know a little bit.
Yeah. I know how to push Rashard's buttons. So and also, if Anthony, make sure when you look through those the banners, you find the disclaimer for Rashard. Because anytime he says something that's just we always throw that up. So make sure you have that for future references. In closing, what I would like to say is, number one, and first and foremost, always, we want to thank all our viewers, the fans of the show, for joining us. We love you guys. We appreciate it. You make the show go extremely well. I definitely want to thank my co-hosts, Rashard Collins, Jamal Mundane, and of course our producer who also joined us on the show today, Anthony Simpson. For those who don't know, I don't know how you would not know that by now, but that is my brother. I love him to death. So definitely want to appreciate all that and everyone. In addition, one thing I want to do, Anthony, go ahead and put me back on, bring us all back up. I think Jay, you and I talked about this once. I want to start incorporating that in the show where we have a segment for talking about sports betting, running through the lines. I think that'd be a good thing to have. For football, for the basketball, just talking about all sports and going along with that. I think it'd be a great addition going there. You do a wonderful job of that. And I want to utilize that as much as possible. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Once again, I want to thank everybody for this episode. Those behind the scenes, in front of the camera, which actually the other one that was behind the scenes and in front of the camera was Anthony. But I want to thank everybody else for this episode of Hey Coach. I am Coach Tim Simpson, and with Jamal Mundane, Rashard Collins' absence, and Anthony Simpson. We want to thank you all. Have a wonderful night.
Sir. Monsters of the Midway, baby.
Deuces.